So there's been a ton of leaks when it comes to Microsoft, the plan for their future, the plan for their hardware, some of the more strange ideas when it comes to relevancy. And I want to talk about all of them. First up is the redesigned Xbox Series X. Instead of a square box, it is now a circular box. It resembles like an air purifier in your home. Diskless, all digital, and no word on whether or not it is like a full upgrade, like a pro model. It just seems like an Xbox Series X without a disk drive, some more capable Wi-Fi performance, more storage, a controller with haptic feedback, which clearly is an indication that Sony was correct in creating a controller with haptic feedback and giving it to people right out of the box when you buy a PlayStation 5. But curiously, there's no real mention of an increase in RAM, of an increase in performance at all, other than the fact that it is an Xbox Series X that's diskless. So no word on whether or not it's going to be a competitor to the PlayStation 5 Pro. And of course, the price is $499, same price as the Xbox Series X. Now, so if you're interested in an Xbox Series X without a disk drive, with no real improvement other than connectivity with Wi-Fi, more storage, and the haptic controller, which you probably will be able to purchase separately if you already own an Xbox Series S or X, then this is the system for you. I'm not sure that many people are going to gravitate towards this system. I just don't see why you'd purchase this over just a standard Xbox Series X that comes with the disk drive. Just buy the new controller and keep your Series X and you're set. Now, if there are people out there who just want, wireless connectivity a little bit better or more storage, then I guess there's a market for it. I just don't see it. What's interesting to me, though, is the other stuff that leaked. And this is where I'm going to try and keep the bias or emotion out of it, because I'm very tired of Microsoft seemingly turning a page and hinting or signaling that they're doing something different. They're all in. They're about creativity. They're about their first party. And then you read stuff like, in order for us to be relevant, we need to buy Nintendo. And I want you to think about that for a second. This isn't me saying that. This isn't you telling me I don't know what I'm talking about when I say this. This is Phil Spencer talking to Microsoft Xbox leadership in a memo. In order for us to be relevant, we've got to purchase Nintendo. That is our clearest path to relevancy. So what I would say is probably before the Bethesda or Activision deals happen, they're thinking about ways to be relevant. And it never dawns on them to just say, let's look at, instead of purchasing Nintendo, let's look at what Nintendo did to become relevant. Let's figure out a way to create or signal to people that our first party is stellar. Let's make first party games on par with our competitors to pull people into our brand. Let's create our own relevancy. You think back to them in an internal memo that leaked talking about Horizon, I think it was Zero Dawn or Forbidden West, and how they said there's nothing like this that they do or have, even on PC, from a tech standpoint. So they recognize, even back then, that the key to this is to create things that are indisputable. The Xbox Series X, the most powerful hardware, another document that leaked, Phil Spencer talked about how they feel good, they have the strongest hardware, the best software integration, and yet they haven't shown that yet from their first party at all. There's nothing from Microsoft on the Xbox Series X that looks as good as Horizon Forbidden West. It pushes the system itself to the point where people say that is the most powerful system. And again, talking about the system and relevancy and talking about the system's hardware, we go from that internal document to the external message of console sales don't matter. It really doesn't matter. We're in a different sphere. Monthly active users. Clearly this stuff matters to them. And if it does matter, if they're interested in relevancy, you cannot buy clout. You cannot buy your way to the dance. People spot that. They see that. They don't like that, and they don't respond to it. It's why you're seeing a 3-to-1 split at some points between PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series consoles, S and X. Now, if you're going to hit me back with that doesn't matter, monthly active users, talk to them. These are their internal emails to each other. This is them telling you what matters. This is a behind the scenes look. This isn't a, let me say something nice. This isn't, a hyper focus in on touchy feely, good messaging. This is the actual communication between the executives behind the scenes. And clearly this stuff matters to them, and it matters to a lot of people. Sales aren't an indication of why you should like something. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying that if you're making something, yeah, it helps if it sells because everything else follows. You have more users that may subscribe to a service to give you a chance at more monthly active users. You have more users that are willing to purchase content from third parties and first parties. There's a signal there to third parties that you can not only participate in a subscription service, but you can also sell your content here, and there is an audience that is receptive to purchasing it. That is very, very important. And when you see these sales of PlayStation 5s through the roof all around the world, that's an indication that people have made a choice, whether or not you agree with it or not. Clearly, Microsoft sees this. Clearly, Microsoft and Xbox want this system, the singular system, not the ecosystem, the Xbox console. Clearly, they want that to succeed. They want it to be seen as the most powerful. They want it to be seen as the best software platform because they say that. Phil Spencer says that in these documents. When I read that they wanted to buy Nintendo, and they were sitting around in, I think it was 2020 that this document was sent out. If I'm wrong, correct me. But think about this. They're sitting around at a table thinking about how to succeed with a console in the console space, how to succeed overall. And the idea of actually creating things that pull people to the platform, the idea of having developers create industry-defining content, that doesn't come up. The idea of even mimicking what Nintendo or Sony has done, and in some ways they are now, but those ideas don't come up. The only idea that comes up is, in order for us to be relevant, we've got to buy Nintendo. That is the most creatively bankrupt train of thought for executives to have when they're thinking about a product and how to differentiate it, how to pull people to the platform, how to get you excited about Xbox. That is the most creatively bankrupt group of people sitting at a table. And it isn't something that I want to use to sort of critique Xbox or drag them down. It's just very disappointing to read. It really is. I mean, I've played Starfield. It's come out recently, and I've enjoyed it. I thought it was very good. Now, Bethesda was making this game before Microsoft purchased them. This isn't Microsoft going in and saying, let's create something from scratch. It was already there. They said, we want it. We buy it. I feel like at some point we're going to get to this critical mass where it's Microsoft, it's first party, it's created underneath the umbrella of Game Pass, and this is the level of quality. And that's the way that I feel I'm going to judge the experience when it comes to Xbox and first party. But I really hope, and I want to stress that these emails were from 2020. If I'm wrong, let me know. 3 years ago, I really hope, and we know what happened with that Nintendo deal. Walking into Nintendo and saying, we're interested in buying you, they were laughed out of the meeting room. Things aren't for sale. You can't make them for sale. And that's where I get really concerned, because this idea of them just buying everything, they could sort of buy their way around the one thing that they want and make it so difficult by taking away all of the little players that contribute and work with that one big player, and make it so difficult to the point where there's nothing left of that big player. The soul of it is gone, and that's when they purchase it. That is not a great way to entice people to play video games on your system. It's not a great way to create, and it signals that maybe they're not too interested in the actual industry, the creativity. They're just interested in owning it and milking it for all it's worth. I hope that's not true. These documents are not something to celebrate. This isn't something that's exciting. Look, they're talking about buying this, they're talking about buying that. You cannot buy your way to relevancy. You just can't do it, especially in 2023. People can see that. They don't like that. People do not like the idea of, I can't do anything, so I'll just buy people that do it well. I'm not talking about Sony in the past. I'm not talking about any of that. We're talking about Microsoft right now. Their first party underneath of them need to create. Not things that were in development before they purchased them and then all of a sudden finish development and come out. Microsoft first party needs to create that relevancy, period. Or else there's no point in really being excited about anything when it comes to Xbox. These were the most disheartening things that I could have read when it comes to a company and a product that I thought were turning a page, that I thought were starting to understand the idea of you cannot just lean on everyone else's work. You've got to do some of that work yourself. And it doesn't sound like, at least 2.5 to 3 years ago, maybe even now, that they've changed much. And I hope that that's wrong. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.